Hello, everybody. I'm joined by my two good friends, CTO and Ivan. How are you gentlemen today?
Fantastic.
Hello guys. All good.
Yeah, it's wintertime there. It's dark now. Every week I can tell the time of the season by the darkness outside your window. But you also had a time change, so I think US is changing next week. I could be wrong, though. I'm not very good at time changes. But it's now 4:30 in Sweden, and it's 8:30 here, but I think next week it'll be 7:30 here, so on the west coast of the United States. So let's go. We've got a very big agenda. There's a lot of excitement in the market. I'm sure you guys are seeing it as well. Everybody is, I wouldn't say FOMOing in, but mainstream media has been talking a lot about crypto, particularly Bitcoin lately. Google Trends is up to nearly 100% over the last 2 weeks, and everything is happening according to plan. But according to me, before we jump into the agenda, before we jump into the agenda too, of course, don't forget everybody to subscribe to these two channels. The links are below. Why is this not working for me? Hold on a second. Oh yeah, I know why. Hold on. There you go. Just link below, CTO and Ivan's channel, in case you're not already subscribed. But I think things are happening a lot sooner this time around than previous cycles when you map them over each other. CTO, have you noticed that as well? The pumps are bigger and faster and earlier than before.
Yes and no, but I think that we could actually see the signs in the chart already in the beginning of this year. And I mean, we have talked about it as three here on the channel for basically the whole year. So
yeah, it's wintertime there. Sorry, my echo.
Yeah. So yes and no. I think the signs were there, and then mainstream media, they will talk about it now because they talk about what people want to read about, right? That's how it works. They based on clicks. So when it's actually the bottom, no one wants to hear about Bitcoin. Everyone's depressed. When it's actually time to buy, no one is paying attention. No one wants to read about it in the newspaper. They will not write anything. Then after it has pumped, everyone is excited again. Everyone wants to read about Bitcoin. And then they write about it. So that's why it's so important to kind of, steer your own ship and, not rely on media to tell you what to do, especially in the field of investment, because they will always be kind of late in the cycle like that.
Mm. But we do have a very powerful early indicator. Hang on a second, I'm getting a message about something, but I'll get to that in a minute. And that is Ivan's wardrobe. Mainstream media should be following your wardrobe because that's the big
the magical
indicator.
Times.
Yeah, exactly.
But what's happening right now is kind of like in 2015. When you look at that cycle, I think we're repeating that one more than the 2017 cycle, because in 2015, let's see if I can pull up the chart here, share screen, there you go, and then let's see, 1 second. This one, you should see it now. And is this sound still working, by the way? Because I know we've had traditionally a lot of problems with the sound here. Yeah, if you see here, this 2015 cycle, where we did reach the bottom, we had this rounded bottom formation, kind of exactly like now. And then, as we pumped, we had a massive sideways move here, which was approximately 6 months. I mean, kind of exactly like we had right now. And then the pump continued into the halving. Then we had a bit of a pullback, but not too bad. And then we continued to all-time highs. This is in contrast to the 2019 situation, which was right here. Let me hide this one, which was right here, where we pumped very strongly and then had the COVID dump and a bit of a downward trend here, which was more severe. So the way I'm seeing it is kind of the repetition of this. And that's why a massive dump, like in the COVID times, to me at least, is less likely. Obviously, anything can happen. But if we are to put probabilities into and prioritize what is most likely, I think that one is most likely, which means that if we do something similar, then it's basically up only until the halving. And I know we have the Golden Cross on the agenda as well, but when you look at the Golden Cross track record, it's quite good as well. So yeah, all in all, it's very good times. And the bears they are still hopeful. I see on Twitter they're sharing this post where, some guy draws that we're gonna dump now to 10K to do a double bottom, and then we're gonna pump, and everyone is sharing and hoping and praying. But guys, most likely that won't happen. That double bottom scenario that they're praying for, most likely this is 2015, 2016 scenario that we're repeating.
Yeah, the anguish is extreme, and they're trying to talk the market down so they can fill their bags because they're not on the train, which must be very painful. And I do sympathize with them. One thing I do want to share, though, because the big topic for today is this. So far, we're up 28.37% so far in October, which is very large. That's higher than the historic average. And that's why I think it's really interesting that this is a really serious October. But MOVEmber, as I call it, MOVEmber, joke, play on words, or whatever you want to call it, is bigger not only for traditional markets, it's the best month in traditional markets, but also for Bitcoin, 38.05% average. So do you both think, I'll give it to CTO first, do you think MOVEmber could be bigger than October?
I mean, one thing that I think is a good learning to take away from this period and all other periods is that the moves are usually much bigger than everyone expects. We can just backtrack 1 month and people thought, maybe it will move, 10%, 12%, maybe, but then boom, it goes from 25K to 35K in no time. And it's always been like that. Everyone who's been here, you get shocked in the beginning and then you realize it's always going to be like this. So the moves get bigger if they start going up, can, absolutely continue 40K, 48K, who knows? And if it starts turning down, it's good. It's good if we get a dip in uptrend. I also hope for dips in uptrend because that's a great opportunity. And if it happens, probably it gets deeper than people think, right? Because if you're going to try to liquidate someone, you cannot move the price like 2%, 3%. You have to kind of crash it hard to get anyone liquidated and then run it back up again and so on. So I think that's how I see it. That's what I will always expect. That, don't, start selling with 5%, 10% profit. We're in this game. We're in this market, which is a very high risk market because the moves on the upside are also very large. So, hang on to the winners.
Yeah.
And who knows how high it can go. So to answer your question, yeah, absolutely.
And this is also different this time. I've been saying this all year because of this. We have, a lot of talk, a lot of chatter about the spot ETF going to be approved. One of the questions I have for you both is when, before Christmas or after Christmas? That's a multi-billion-dollar question. But we saw the rumor and then the huge 30K candle and then the follow-through. So normally after, say, FUD or something is issued, you get the spike and then you get the tank. But here you see clear follow-through. And if you look at the CME options, in 2 days, we had more options action on CME futures for Bitcoin than the entire 2021. And who is buying those? The institutions. They're getting their foot in the game. They don't want to miss the boat if they can't get the spot. So they're going in onto futures. What do you guys think about the spot ETF? If you look at this chart here, most of the dates, the confluence is around that, what is it, the 15th of January, 2024? The most next kind of deadline to happen. A lot of people know it has to happen before April 2024. The question is, could there be a surprise? Could it be out in the next 2 months? Ivan, you're nodding. Are you tracking this?
Yeah, I mean, they probably want it before the halving. And I think for us, it's also good if it's way before the halving, because normally you need some bullish news after your your other bullish news just happened. So it would be less good if we had the ETF and halving at the same time, because then we have nothing to look forward to and be excited about. If we have ETF now, then we still have the halving, then people are still excited. Institutions are excited, they're buying the ETF. So that would be the best case scenario. Whether it's Christmas or January, I mean, who the hell knows? It's just 2 weeks difference. But probably if I was an institution, I would like it before the halving with quite a few months before the halving, so I have enough time to buy, and then maybe I sell the news on the halving because now I have the ETF. Many of them are probably gonna trade the halving narrative. Let's see, but this is my number one scenario, which I think would be the most bullish for the industry. That it is a few months before the halving, so we have the halving to look forward to still, even after the ETF news.
Good. CTO, what's your take on before Christmas or after Christmas? Like Gary Gensler has turned around and he's saying, we're looking at 8 to 10 submissions now carefully. That's the first time his narrative has ever changed from being, don't like that. So he's under pressure.
I've also gotten more positive that they will approve it. I had actually some very interesting guests here last Thursday and published a video, because it turns out we're way ahead here in Europe, actually. And if you haven't watched it, I think you should watch it. So what the guy who was here was saying basically is that they will absolutely approve it, because, I mean, we're doing it here and it's fine. The world hasn't caught fire or anything. And it works not only for Bitcoin, but for altcoins as well. So I think that, and I haven't seen that so discussed in the US, that it's not that they're, doing something very scary, breaking new grounds. No, we're already doing it in the regulation mecca, which is Europe, where it's usually harder to do anything. And turns out that we could do it here. So, I mean, come on, guys, that's what he said. Yeah. So I became more positive that this will actually get approved after that conversation. So then exactly when it will happen, I have no idea. I don't know what the exact schedule, but it feels sooner than when this was first discussed 6 years ago, or when I heard it first time. So I'm positive. I think it will happen pretty soon.
Okay, there's two other things.
If you were betting, I bet on after Christmas.
Yeah, okay. There's two other things happening as well that are important to track. One is global M2 is rising, which is good. Typically, the more money there is in the global fiat system, the more it inflates assets like Bitcoin, which is positive. Also, US Fed liquidity is rising as well, which is impressive. There's been a lot of talk over the last week or so, that big surprise GDP number. But all the GDP number is there, the 4-5%, whatever it was, is because of the government issuing more debt and pumping more money into the system and sending money to war zones and things like that. That's the reason behind it. Companies are not growing. When you look at earnings from the big tech, which is always the little canary in the mine that tells you exactly what's going on early, it's not good. And then final piece of macro before we get to the fun stuff, no hike tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Fed meeting. And November 1st, looks like it's a 99% chance there will be no hike. And that's going to be the second pause in a row. And typically after two pauses, that's it. That's dunsies. And then they'll wait for a crisis to cut. But the money is being issued as we speak. So that's all good as well for the space. And, we have this trifecta of things happening at the same time. Money printing, halving, and a rate cut all coming at the same time. Oh, spot ETF, 4 things. There's so many tailwinds. Yeah, it's hard to remember them all. Do you guys see those 4 things being a huge catalyst for the space?
I feel that another catalyst that really sailed up is really the original narrative of Bitcoin, like the digital gold. At the time of crisis in the world, you run to hard, stable asset, which has always been gold. And for the first time in a while, actually, Bitcoin tracks gold instead of tracking the stocks, which it has done for the longest time. So perhaps, that narrative is picking up. And I feel that's maybe the strongest narrative right now, of course, together with the ETF. But yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's talk now. Let's switch gears. We're going to switch gears into, first of all, the Golden Cross. I made a video on this last week. I know, Ivan, you made one this morning. This is the history. One of the things I do want to click on, and I'll just jump on this. I know, CTU, you probably have a chart for this too. Yeah. And Ivan, you mentioned it as well. Obviously, I put a little gas mask there to signify the date that Ivan mentioned. But what's interesting about this is obviously after a gold cross, it goes up 80% of the time for Bitcoin. What's different this time, however, is we are early, very early in the bull run. When we get a gold cross early in the bull run, it has spectacular results. Late in the bull run or even in the bear, it sucks. But early in the bull, it's very special. CTO, I'm going to kick this one to you. I pinged you earlier about this, and I know you're prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. So usually there's a few different terminologies, but one thing that a lot of people are tracking are these 50, 100, and 200 simple moving averages. If you share, can you share my,
yeah. We're in.
So, and that's, as you see here, the blue line here, that's the 50-day simple moving average, and the purple line here is the 200-day simple moving average. And as you can see here, it's just crossing just today or yesterday perhaps. So, and then as James points out, if we go back a little bit in the history and we look at previous times when that happened, so one time was here in February this year, and then after that happened, we had a massive run up in price. Like this continued up here up until today, basically. So, and if we go back more in history, it has been like that most of the time. Here you can see the blue line went above the purple line, price went up 40%, and we've had many times where it has gone up a lot. Like here you can see it crossed and price continued to go up 700%. And if we go even further back on the bigger bull runs, you can see here from 2015, here you see the blue line crossed, and price proceeded to make 7,000% without the blue line dropping below the purple line. So this is one of like the classic indications that a lot of people look at, and then that can have a real effect on sentiment and how people take positions. So this can definitely give a boost for that reason. Then I can, that's it for the chart sharing. Then I think that it's not really the best indicator to take positions in, because it's kind of late. I don't want to market anything, but I when I started, I did evaluate a lot of different indications, and this is one kind of maybe the most basic one, but it is a little bit late in the cycle for crypto and Bitcoin specifically to take positions in, because there are better ones where which has even better track record to get in a little bit earlier in the cycle. But it's definitely the case that this is something that's widely spread. There's a million people looking at this one, and that means that they might take positions here, and that might give a pump in the price. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we still have, it's quite remarkable this time around how the early bull, like typically, like clockwork, from the beginning of the bear to the end of the bear, it's 365 days plus or minus 10 days. But there's still a lot of people that are very experienced in the space, but they are still in denial, like nearly a year after the bull market, the very early bull began, that they're still waiting for that double bottom. How do you understand that, Ivan? What would you say? Like if we're getting a gold cross and an early bull, if you're not on the train, is that the last piece of data you need to make a decision?
Yeah, by the way, I'm not sure I agree that we're early. I mean, we're a bit earlier, you can say, potentially, but in the last cycle, we also went approximately to 50% of the all-time high quite early as well. At that time, we did collapse. It was when we went to 14K in June 2019. Then we did collapse back down. This time, we also went to approximately 50% of previous all-time high, but we did not collapse. We actually held it, and now we're continuing to the upside. So to me, the cycles are quite similar, and they are repeating basically exactly like before. And this is the creepy thing with Bitcoin. It is exactly like before, very similar. Although the macro is different, everything is different, but it's kind of like CTO said, the underlying narrative is still here, and that's probably one of the explanations why it's so eerily similar. And I normally share my chart here. Let me quickly share with you guys here. You see here in This is 2014. This is my favorite chart that I look at when analyzing this.
Did I get the wrong
these
one?
cycles. That
Oh no, yeah, sorry.
no, it's not, this is the wrong one. Pull up that. Here you go. So in 2014 we reached the peak here, or actually, yeah, in December 2013. Then to the bottom we had. Let's see, this is a month, 1 year, so 12 13, yeah, exactly 13 months until the bottom. Okay, so it was a year from top to bottom, and then 80 weeks until the halving, then we went to all-time high after the halving. Now in 2017 we had exactly the same story, from top here to the bottom, which was here, also 13 months, and then 73 weeks until the halving. So it was 80 weeks, then it was 73. Very similar. Here, guess what? You know how many months it is from top to bottom? It is 12 months. Extremely similar, and now we have 70 weeks until the halving from this bottom. So to me, I wouldn't say that the cycles are super different, that we're super early. It's very similar. And if you are a bear, you most likely haven't been part of previous cycles, because when I listen to some bears, I kind of recognize myself in previous cycles where you see Bitcoin coming up after 1 to 2 years of downtrend and you're doubting it. I swear it's so common. You come to Bitcoin after 2 years of downward pressure, your brain cannot even handle a small pump, you instantly think it's gonna dump. But in a bull market, you gotta be bullish, and it is very clear that the cycles are repeating very, very similarly. And that's why if I would be a bear, I would be getting seriously into Bitcoin right now. But I know they won't, because they're still thinking that this pump from 15K is a fake out. I still have people writing to me that it's still a fake. It's still a fake out, and many of them think that this pump above 30K is still a fake out. So I'm personally worried for the bears, because this is not a good time to be a bear. And even if we dump tomorrow, some people are saying, Ivan, what if we dump tomorrow? How can you be sure that, get in now? What if we dump tomorrow? Guys, even if it dumps tomorrow, it's better to at least start building position now, because you risk being on the sidelines. Yes, we can dump tomorrow. We can dump maybe back to 30K. It can definitely happen. But to not build position now, I don't understand it. Because as you can see, the history is very, very much alike.
Yeah. And the narratives, like I do understand some people when they look at like macro situation and the wars and the unrest around the world and the debt and the money printing, but that brings back into what CTO mentioned at the beginning, the gold narrative, flight to safety, is also now coming into play. Used to be a hedge risk, but that happened during the bear market, of course. An inflation hedge didn't work for Bitcoin last time around, but maybe the flight to safety does this time around, which is interesting. Let's look at the overall market. There is another name that's getting a lot of attention, and people refer to me as the Solana help desk. Just over the last 24 hours, again, there's one dark green spot here and a few little ones down here, but Solana has been on fire. It's up over 252% year to date. And, we have analysts now coming out talking about Solana. We've got the BreakPoint conference coming up starting today. And that's in the Netherlands and Amsterdam. I know people like Ran Noyne, friend of the channel, is there right now, and a bunch of other people. But there's also another conference happening at the exact same time in Dubai. That's the Cardano conference. The difference between both is one costs $1,500 to get in, the other one's free. So if you're in Dubai, there's a free conference available for you, and free dessert, I think, tonight or tomorrow. But the point is, a lot of chat now about the consensus asset of this bull run being Solana. You have VanEck come out. VanEck is not an analyst name to be disregarded. They manage $100 billion. Yes, it's not as big as a BlackRock, but it's still very substantial. And they're considered one of the best ETF providers. They have a Bitcoin filing in. They know crypto. They're placing a lot of their bets, getting away from traditional markets into crypto assets. And they do a lot of research. And they are the top 100 asset manager and also top 5 for advising pension funds. And they're getting into crypto. So what will they be telling their pension companies? What should they buy? But then when they said, Solana could reach $3,211 by 2030, that's only 7 years away, or a little bit less, depending on where you measure it from. What do you think of all this? Do you think Solana has a chance. The conference is on this week. Things typically pump during the conference and then dump a little bit after. Where do you see this going at all?
Yeah, so
people sometimes complain that we crypto influencers, we're moon boys. We discussed that in altcoins you can make 100x, and people complain, guys, you're moon boys. Why are you shilling these altcoins? We literally now have Van Eck predicting 100x for Solana in the coming years, which highlights the potential of altcoins and this whole industry to a massive extent. So if anyone is a moon boy, it is Van Eck, and we're kind of conservative investors here on the same level as Van Eck. But yeah, it's like you say, James, it's kind of a new paradigm here. And for Solana, the most important level is to get back over that FTX dump, which is basically where we're trying now to get back.
It's actually today,
over.
or I think actually there, $35. It shot to 38. I think exactly this time last year, but depending on the exact day you measure, there was a lot of volatility there. So it is an interesting time.
38, exactly. Right.
Yeah, where it'll go. And plus, there's a lot of ecosystem players that are making big announcements. Render is going to be talking about some of their AI stuff as well. They got some really good things coming. We don't know what it is yet, but I know an announcement is going to be made. And in full disclosure, I own Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Render, and Injective. Only 5 coins. CTO, what do you think about this Moon Boy token? And I thought Ivan was very funny saying, crypto people used to be the Moon Boys, but now we're the conservative ones. We think this is a little too high.
Exactly. So 3,200, that's about 100x from today's prices. And today's market cap is 14 billion for Solana. So 100 times that would be about 1.4 trillion then. So now we're thinking 2030. Is it possible for cryptocurrencies to be worth in the trillions? So just to put in perspective, current gold market cap
it's 14 trillion.
Is 14 trillion, right? It's gone up recently. Yeah, exactly. 13.2 trillion. 13.2 trillion. Is it possible for a cryptocurrency to have a market cap of 1 trillion? Yeah, I think it's possible.
Yeah, but also if you fast forward 7 years, though, with the rate at which debt is being issued and money's debased, 1.4 trillion is only 700 billion or less. And that's the other thing.
Of course, absolutely. So
gold will go up to 24, 28 trillion market cap because of the debasement of the fiat. That's a given.
Absolutely. So this is in US dollar, which will be worth less per dollar in 2030. That's one factor. But then there is also this factor that there is only 2 outcomes. It's a giant success or catastrophic failure, very little in between. So which coins will it be in 2030? Will it be Bitcoin and Ethereum today, or could it be? So today is Bitcoin. If you're looking at the speculative coins, it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, XRP, and then Solana, and then comes Cardano. Will it be exactly that order, or could the ecosystem change? Could it be that, like Ivan, you talked on one of your recent videos, like what is money? Ethereum ecosystem is talking a lot about that. Can Ethereum not only be gas for a smart contract, can it become money also? And in some sense, in some communities, it has been that a couple of times. It was that for NFTs. We didn't value NFTs in Bitcoin or in US dollar or in USDT. We value them in Ethereum. And if someone was here like on the early ICO days when you could, buy BNB token, which was an ICO or so on, those were usually valued not in Bitcoin, but in Ethereum. So Ethereum has almost become money twice, but then the ICO boom died for good reasons. And then NFT has kind of fallen down a little bit, but it has almost been money a little bit twice, not Bitcoin, but another coin. Could that happen with Solana? Could Solana start filling another role? Could it move beyond being a gas for a smart contract language? Could it start filling other roles? probably it would need to do that to go into those kind of evaluations. But is that completely impossible to picture in 7 years? I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah.
People overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but underestimate how far we can go in 10 years. Who knows where we will be in 10 years? Is it completely impossible? No, I don't think it's completely impossible, but I don't know if it will be Solana or Ethereum or some other great smart contract project that's not even invented yet. That I think is very difficult to predict. We don't know what someone will invent next year if we're looking
Exactly.
7 years into the future.
And that dovetails
possible.
perfectly into this. So I always talk about how, as somebody mentioned in the comment, keep your tap dancing shoes on. We are living in an age, and you guys are both technologists, where things radically change so quickly from day to day. What used to take 10 years to develop can now be developed in 12 weeks. And that is a multiple step change, not a step change, but it's multiple step changes. And we've got this guy, Elon Musk. He's had a vision for X, which was the old name of PayPal before it became PayPal, to create a global bank. He understands Bitcoin. He has bought Bitcoin, personally holds Bitcoin. Tesla has Bitcoin. SpaceX has Bitcoin. The question is, he now says you will not need a bank account next year if you are a Twitter employee. He's going to build a powerful financial platform that does a whole bunch of different things. He's going to transform X into a financial hub that will centralize all your financial activities, monetary activities, from payments to investments to high yield, real-time global transfers, money transmission licenses. He's getting those right now into some type of global super app. First of all, do you think it's possible that this could happen? This could disrupt everything. This could disrupt Bitcoin. This could disrupt Solana. This could disrupt Ethereum. Or could he be using crypto to power that engine, or create his own crypto to do it? It has to be blockchain based. There's no way you can disrupt it without being on the blockchain. Ivan, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think you can disrupt crypto without creating a crypto. Just like you said, if he does it with fiat, it's not going to be disruptive. He's going to be at the mercy of the banks. He's going to be at the mercy of TradFi. And he will not be able to take control and take the lead of future finance. When I look at, for example, Apple, when they wanted to do Apple Pay and this Apple Card and all of that, they were so restricted by their banking partners. And I think they worked with Goldman Sachs. But that's an example where big tech potentially could do so much more than the bankers when it comes to finance, because bankers, they don't do a lot. Moving bits into a database, changing the account value from A to B when someone transfers, it's not technically complex. So big tech should theoretically already a long time ago, they should have overtaken finance, but they haven't yet. And that's because the TradFi has a very strong grip on fiat currencies, and even if you're a fantastic developer, without their permission, you won't be able to do anything. So Elon has two choices: either to create his own coin or to use existing cryptocurrencies. That's the big question: what he's going to do. Is it going to be Dogecoin or Bitcoin or Elon coin? That one I have a hard time predicting. But whatever happens, it's still going to be bullish for crypto. I mean, imagine yourself, even if he does his own coin, that there is an Elon coin you can now buy. Man, is going to be insane, and probably is going to be a massive catalyst for TradFi to start buying cryptos and figuring out cryptos, maybe even as big as the Bitcoin ETF right now. If Elon says, listen, we are doing a coin, you can buy it. Or if he says that Bitcoin or Doge are going to be used, it's going to be a similar effect as well. So if he wants to disrupt, he's for real serious about it, it has to be crypto. I cannot see any way that is going to be replacing or disrupting crypto. It's just going to add more fuel to crypto overall. And if he says it's going to be TradFi, there's going to be no disruption. It's going to be like Apple Pay with that card they have that few people use. So that's how I see it. But very exciting. And I feel if anyone, it is going to be Elon that disrupts it, because he likes to show to the establishment that they should know their place and that actually we can do without them. I feel that if anyone, he has that nerve that he needs to itch.
He already upsets a lot of people. I think over the weekend he upset, I won't mention the head of state of a certain country by threatening to give people the right to communication, which I believe everybody should have the right to food, to education, to medical, to communications, etc. So anyway, we won't go down that path at all. It's been spoken about enough. However, what he's also doing, which is interesting, I'm going to ask you both as technologists, he now has the 5th largest supercomputer on the planet. It's going to be number 1 by April 2024. He's using it to train AGI for FSD. But once that's done and trained, he'll have a lot of capacity. Could that AGI training capacity be pivoted to support a new blockchain? It's a stretch, I know, but thinking.
For security reasons, I'm not sure that he's going to do proof of work where he needs this supercomputer, because currently we have all kinds of proof of stake coins which are proving themselves to be sustainable enough. Now there's a big debate, proof of work versus proof of stake, but ETH is proof of stake, Solana, proof of stake. So at the end of the day, it is proof of stake. Do you need a massive computer to run it? Not really. You don't really need it. But Bitcoin should. It's another topic, but this quantum resistance, it feels that with all the AI and AGI developments, we should start thinking about quantum protection for Bitcoin.
Yeah, my target was 2028 to start worrying about that. I moved it to 2025, 2026, because the pace of development and evolution is scary. CTO, as a technologist your entire life, what do you think about all of this?
One term that is good to keep in mind is vehicle to mass adoption. So this is exactly like when we built telecom and all that stuff. It's not enough to have 5 engineers sitting here in Stockholm and have built a great system and we're talking to each other and the other 5 engineers in the other end of the world who also understand what it is. And we have this great thing you can, send the protocols to each other and call each other and so on. No one cares. They feel I'm never going to use that. That's garbage. There's another entity needed, which goes out and markets to every person in the world. Here, come, look at this. This is so great. You can buy it. Here's a discount. Please come and buy. We have a shop. We have, banners and flags. Come and buy a mobile phone. Come and buy a mobile phone. Without that, people won't do it. It's not enough to develop something which factually everyone in the world wanted. Every single person in the world wanted a mobile phone. We know that. But just having it and saying here it is, you could buy it. No one's going to buy it. No one's going to use it. It's like a few random crazy individuals like me and you two and everyone, the other 2,174 people listening here, they will do it. But 99% of the population will not. There need to be someone marketing it to them, even if they want it. They're not going to take the action without that entity. And for telecom, that's like the operators, like in the US, Verizon, or T-Mobile, in Sweden, Telia, and Vodafone, and so on. So in every country, there are those companies who go and try to sell it to you. You should get the mobile phone. It's good for you. Here's the things you can do it. And if you buy it today, you get the discount. Then people do it. That whole layer is absent in our industry. We only have the engineering layers, like when I worked at Ericsson. Even you also worked at Ericsson Research sometime. We have that layer. People who create great technology. But who is marketing it to regular people? We've had a few attempts, but those ended in disasters. SBF of FTX, he went out and signed up Tom Brady, which I understand is, the most loved sportsman in the US, to do commercials. Larry from, was co-writing Seinfeld, people who, can actually market. But then that ended in a total disaster. Turned out they lost the money and all that stuff. And we've had some people like that who could potentially do it if they had continued, but they screwed up, they lost all the money, and they ended in absolute mayhem. So we don't have that entity. We don't have that. Okay, the exchange is a little bit, but they're getting more and more restricted. They're not allowed to market their services in most countries. They cannot do ads. So who is it? Who is the vehicle to mass adoption for crypto? And the answer is that it's missing. It doesn't exist. And Elon Musk with X.com could become that. Mark Zuckerberg tried with the stable coin and so on. He had to shut it down. He couldn't go through it. But I think Elon Musk could do it with X.com. I'm super excited. I think it's our best horse for vehicle to mass adoption for crypto that would bring crypto to billions of people. I love it.
Yeah, this will. You mentioned something so important about adoption. The joke 24 years ago in 1999 in Silicon Valley, Sand Hill Road, the VC world was build it and they will come. So they completely forgot about product market fit and adoption and how expensive that is. And there's many enterprise software companies where literally 80% of the money has to go to sales and marketing and business development and everything else. 20% towards building something and then 80% sales and marketing. So you're right. There needs to be that catalyst to drive that mass adoption on the path to 1 billion crypto users. People now are seeking out crypto because of necessity, not because, oh, I want to play with this. It's because I have to save my life and get my family out of this country or fight inflation or whatever else, or I don't trust the ex-government as we go forward. So that's a super interesting points all brought up there. Any topics? And we're going to open up to Q. Actually, I got one more topic I completely forgot about. Bear with me 1 second. Let me find, I lost my slides here. This is this guy Nayib Bukele. He's a special cat. He took huge risk jumping into Bitcoin, making it adopted as the first nation state to adopt Bitcoin. But now he's looking like a very smart fellow. So this article came out from a couple of different magazines, and that is, Bitcoin-friendly El Salvador can become the Singapore of the Americas. From Van Eck again. These guys are all over the place. But I know, CTO, you're working on some stuff. I know you know a lot to be dangerous about El Salvador at this stage. First of all, what do you think of Nayib Bukele? And you know the history of Singapore. You spent a lot of time in Asia. I spent a lot of time working there too. And Singapore, literally, they're on the forefront of everything. And they generate things like financial center meccas and technology meccas by being fast and investing in infrastructure to support that. Do you think El Salvador could be the Singapore of the Americas because of Bitcoin?
I mean, Singapore is it's so much learnings from Singapore. Guys, if you haven't studied Singapore and how it came to be and the Lee Kuan Yew and so on, you should definitely go and do it, because one person can totally change the outlook for a country and then inspire a whole region of countries after that. And Singapore is that. That was like a poor, difficult place. And one person turned it around into maybe the most advanced country on the planet with giant success every single way. And no one thought it could be done. I'm sure if you go back and ask people when he started, they would all say, no, that's like some swamp, right? That will never work.
And the first ever place to drop fiber optics as well. The backbone of the internet was a key part of that development too, which you're very familiar with.
Everything, like everything. Invested in all the infrastructure, all modern infrastructure and so on. So, and no one thought it could be done. Now it's the same. They were going to say exactly the same. I mean, El Salvador is some, tricky country, crime and stuff. But it's been done before. It can be done. And it's one person, one brave person can do it. We have it in the history. We know it can be done. Can it be done by El Salvador? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very impressed. I love seeing this. And this guy, imagine how difficult his life must have been during 2022. He was like standing there defending Bitcoin, and what happens with the price? It just goes down every week, every month, every day. It just goes down. People who using Bitcoin, their value just goes down every day, every week, every month, just down. And he still survived. He's still there. Imagine now if this starts going up, this continues up, what a hero he will be to all those people working on the market, selling fish on the square or something. They're going to end up having some Bitcoin as a result of that. Imagine if this goes up, how popular he will be then. And it will attract investment. It will attract talent, just like Singapore. Companies will want to set up there instead of some other country. And that can absolutely create the same success that Singapore did. But it takes time. It takes decades. It doesn't happen in 6 months or 1 year. But yeah, I'm very impressed.
And Ivan, will you set up a Morales headquarters in El Salvador?
Well, it's not fully out of the picture because the unique selling point is quite clear, and that's that we're open for business. That's what he's saying. We're open for business. If you want to be part of this society, which likes innovation, which is light on regulation and welcomes business, then we are the place. And also, if you read about the history of the president, and you read that actually he's kind of grassroots. There are probably people in the chat and elsewhere. Maybe if you come from El Salvador, you can tell us in the comment section. But to me, when I read about him, it seems that he has made himself to a large extent. It's not like he was the son of the previous president and then he kind of inherited the position, which means that he's a real change maker. And that's what's needed, and that's what's missing in many other countries where you could potentially see a change, but it's not a person of a great enough character to do it. And this guy seems like he is. So absolutely, the unique selling point is there. The person to drive it seems to be there as well. And as the West is getting into this path of more and more regulation, that it's difficult to do business. I don't know how Elon is going to do this disruption from the US. I'm still wondering that, because let's say that he says, now we're replacing TradFi and we're going to do it from the US. He's going to face the same exact problems as Zuckerberg. And if he really wants to change the world, he will most likely have to do it from elsewhere, or have massive connections in TradFi or in the political system. So the world is rearranging itself in front of our eyes, and probably is going to be very different in 10 to 15 years.
I love that. Everything is changing fast. And what we've seen as well, one of the things I do track, I do a special video series on tracking billionaire movements and millionaire movements. And we see how flexible, when you got money, you can go anywhere. You don't need to be locked down in one particular place. And people will gravitate towards, as you say, open for business friendly areas, low tax areas, get away from controls and all that stuff. Governments don't realize, like in the state of California, 40% of tax revenue disappeared in the last 24 months. Why? the billionaire said, sayonara, Gavin Newsom. Go stick it in your pipe and smoke
really?
it.
40% of tax
40%.
revenue disappeared?
Yeah, like the Larry Ellisons, the Elon Musks, the
Right.
huge taxpayers bounced. And it's a massive hole now in the treasury. Anyway, the US government has a huge hole itself, but we won't talk about deficits. That's why the money printing's happening. Let's open this up to some Q&A. Favorite part of the show. A couple of questions in, and a big thank you to the moderators in the chat and everybody for being here. This is really an exciting time. I have trouble sleeping at night because it's so exciting. So first question is from Citizens Crypto. Will the Golden Cross pump Solana too? I'm holding strong to my Solana through the bear market. So I actually had a quick look at the Solana chart. There was a Golden Cross for Solana, I think, in the middle of October. And since then, it's performed really well. Do you have a Golden Cross there on Solana you want to pull up, CTO, or I can pull mine up?
I can show something on the Solana chart, which is maybe even more interesting, because in many cases, these golden crosses are a little bit late if you pull up the chart, because we had another clue that is maybe interesting for everyone to learn. If you don't know anything about technical analysis, you think you should learn it, because it's not about predicting the future. It's about uncovering what the big players are really doing, not what they are saying on social media. So if you look here from August this year, 2023, we got something called inverse head and shoulder. And that broke out, and then trend turned up, and off we went. When we get these kind of constructions, that means that at least someone is buying in large volumes, probably. And they're trying to do it in a way that price doesn't run away from them while they are accumulating. As you see, this is about 31st of August to 30th of September. So about 1 month of accumulation before price, they couldn't hold price down anymore. It ran up. So someone was accumulating here. Really good timing, wasn't it? Because then price really ran off. And if it has anything to do with the Solana conference or just, anticipation about the future, of course, Bitcoin rally as well, and all those things together. But here you could see it. And this is not something that, I pull up later. I think we talked about it here on the show. I talked it on my channel, and you could really see this quite clearly in the chart. So if you don't know anything about technical analysis and think it's some sort of magic lines, here's an example where it was really useful, and I'm not pulling this up now. You can go back and check it. So we could uncover that large players were buying ahead of the pump.
And I'm guilty of that too, because I did a massive amount of stacking. Anytime, well, from the price of 8 all the way up was just literally 85 to 90% of anything I invested over the last year went into one thing, and that's Solana. I had extreme conviction. My conviction never changed from the beginning. And now we've created a lot of people that have it, and now they're very happy. And it was just unfortunate that there are lying scumbag thieves like Sam Bankman-Fried. May he go to prison for the rest of his life. But he tricked everybody, top government officials and everything else. But I just, as we always say, never trust anybody. There is another question related to that too. Let me pull it up. Somebody said, I think, hold on a second. It's from Stephen Weston. Hey all, is it too late for people to buy Solana? Can it still be done? Or has the train left the station? What do you say to Stephen Weston? Ivan, what do you advise him? Of course, you don't give financial advice.
Well, Van Eck says it's going to do 100x. So what can we say, guys? If Van Eck says 100x, are we more or less conservative than Van Eck? But like with all cryptos, it's early bull market. Everything is super early. The most important thing is to build position. If you are even a bit interested in Solana, just get a bit, so you have something, so you can follow it, so you can now be even more interested. You can build your own conviction, because if you yourself don't have a conviction and you just ask us, is it too late, is it not too late, you will never be able to be successful in the market. You need your own conviction, because today, let's say we tell you, oh, we're positive, then you listen to someone else that says, no, Solana is bad, Cardano is better, then someone else says, no, Cardano and Solana are both bad, XRP is the best. So you need your own conviction. Van Eck says we're going to do 100x, and you buy a bit, you learn, you use, you compare it to other ecosystems, and this way you will feel yourself. Is Solana better than ADA? Well, you can try Solana apps, you can try Cardano apps. Is it better than XRP? You can try finding an XRP dApp, and this way you'll build your own conviction and triangulate yourself.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. One of the things that, they call it at Google, they call this dog fooding, is trying your own food, testing it out. And it's a great analogy there is to test out chains and really see the experience and see the difference. So that's a great question. Let's go to some other questions here for the team. B-Man63, love your content and donations to good cause. Thank you so much, B-Man. Eric, is an ETF really that big of a deal? Eric sounds like he's in Scandinavia, going by the name. Europe has quite a big financial market as well, and we have a spot ETF already. So I have an answer to that, but you guys first. Do you think, well, we already have spot ETFs for Bitcoin all around the world. We have them in Brazil, we have them in Sweden, we have them in Germany, we have them in Switzerland, many places. What do you guys think? Will it make a big difference in the US?
I think it will make a difference. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let me explain why, because there is a big reason. So BlackRock is the biggest asset manager in the world. They have about 3,000 organizations using a thing called Aladdin. Aladdin is kind of an algo that tells you how to allocate assets. And once they go into the back end of that algo within Aladdin, which is used by companies like Apple that have hundreds of billions of dollars in cash, and Microsoft and all these other players, as well as asset managers and pension funds, and they tweak it and they say, okay, to build a perfect portfolio, you need 0.5% in Bitcoin. Once they flick that, you're not seeing the 10 trillion in assets under management by BlackRock, but you're seeing the other 30 trillion used by companies that have assets that use Aladdin will turn it on. And that's the difference between spot ETFs in Europe and BlackRock with Aladdin embracing Bitcoin. That's the piece that many people don't know behind the curtain. Mm-hmm. Ivan, I think you probably know about Aladdin. You seem to be nodding.
Yeah, but also the marketing aspect, which is very important, because although we have all kinds of products trading, we have ETPs and the exchange traded notes, they're still not super promoted by the banks or financial advisors or anyone. Crypto is very much still disrespected in traditional circles, in TradFi circles in Europe. But when BlackRock announced that they're getting into ETFs, it was a clear change, even here, where people are thinking, wait. Now it's no longer the small, no-name firms that are doing this exchange-traded products, because most of them have been super small. Like XBT Provider in Sweden probably was one of the first ones, if not the first one. Already 10 years ago, they started to trade the Bitcoin tracker, but they're a no-name company at that time. I mean, now they're quite big. I think they are now part of CoinShares, so it's quite significant. But is it even close to BlackRock? No, so it's not the same weight. And the other ones in other countries, it's very, very similar. So I feel that the biggest aspect worldwide is going to be this all of these integrations, like you mentioned, James, but most importantly that BlackRock is BlackRock and VanEck is VanEck, and they're both bullish. And if you are now a TradFi bro, because they don't think too much themselves, the TradFi bros, the financial advisors and everyone that works, they think crypto is shady, but now they see that BlackRock is doing it. So now you cannot really go against BlackRock. You sound dumb, man. If you are a financial advisor and you say that BlackRock is dealing with Bitcoin and Bitcoin is a scam, like, come on, man. You know more than BlackRock? Of course not. So I feel that that's the big thing that's a shifting, that TradFi bros themselves become crypto bros, and that's going to be a sight to behold. We haven't seen that fully yet, but it is going to happen.
And Ivan, you're so right, because I'm looking at the analysis now of the data that I have, and it looks at the ETP fund flows. The biggest fund flow over the last couple of weeks, Canada, 162 million went into Bitcoin. Germany, 146.4 million. Switzerland, 126 million. And only 30 million in the US. So the Europeans now, because of BlackRock, are saying, okay, this is real, this is coming, I'm going to get in now. And that's all in the data, in the money flows. So you're exactly right. I'm glad you shared that piece of information too. Let me see, what else do we have here? So Eric, I hope that answers your question. It'll be a big deal for sure, and we're already seeing that in the price action. From Rides PvP, are you guys taking any profits here? Greed really high, and MSM is talking crypto. It feels like a local top to Rides. Do you think it's a local top? Would you sell here? I certainly wouldn't.
I say it like this. I don't know what will happen tomorrow, and I don't need to know. That's the great thing. Like, if you think that you need to be able to predict the future to make money, you haven't really understood how this is working. Because there is, as you both talked about before, there is the concept of position size. You don't need to know. You win regardless. If it dumps, manipulation dump, someone decides to liquidate all the longers tomorrow, great. Then we buy more at lower prices, because long term, I believe more in this industry than ever. So great if that happens. If it doesn't happen, okay, then we don't get the chance to buy more, but we have ride with our positions we have. We win both ways. It doesn't matter. You don't need to know exactly what will happen in every single time, because you don't know. You can't predict if something like FTX blows up one day or whatever happens. You don't need to know. I'm not selling here. I'm not taking profits, as the question was. Personally, instead, if there will be a dump or dip or whatever, I'm going to add more then instead. That's my plan.
Ivan, what about you, sir?
No, the same. And I really want to highlight that it's time to be bullish when it's the start of the bull market, because there's always going to be pullbacks. In 2020, we did go from like 10K all the way to 20K, but then we dumped all the way to 17.6. And imagine if you held through that dump. You didn't sell at 20, you held all the way to 17.5. How horrible would it be? It will be so horrible, because then instantly it pumped all the way to 60K. And imagine if you exited or took profits. I mean, we're picking, if you're thinking about exiting, profiting now in this kind of short-term time frame, is picking up pennies in front of the freight train, because we are in a massive move. If the cycles repeat, we're in a massive move. If you try to optimize now, you're gonna be left on the sidelines. And again, it comes back to conviction. Like, are you here because you believe that crypto is gonna go places in the coming months and the years, or are you a short-term trader? All in all, personally, I'm hodling, especially now, and adding more as it is the early days of the bull market.
Awesome. Very good. Now, we have a next question that's kind of interesting. We have from BT. How has ETH's price action been going since going to proof of stake? Could there be a connection? So basically, do you think ETH moving to proof of stake has hurt the price action? Or is it just because there's more competitive L1s coming down the pike and a lot of value capture has been taken by the L2s? Interesting question from BT.
I mean, I think the connection can be something that, because things usually pumps in anticipation. It's called like in buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing. So I think it's the other way around. I think maybe the Ethereum got lost of attention that they were moving to proof of stake. And then people were worried, will it fail? Will the whole Ethereum break? Is it over? And so on. Then it just worked, great success. Nothing happened, great success. And then what happens? Yeah, it worked exactly like they promised. But then you have nothing to look forward to. You kind of get a little disappointed, like what we're dreaming about now. And then, price slowly fades down. I think that could be the connection to proof of stake. But I don't think that proof of stake as such has been a disadvantage for Ethereum. That has not really materialized. There were threats about that, right? That it will be regulated differently, but that hasn't really materialized yet.
Interesting.
Yeah, and looking at the inflation, with proof of work, we would be at 3.7% per year in ETH. Currently, we're at 0.3% per year with the current usage of ETH. And if people use ETH more, if the bull market comes back and more transactions, is going to go into deflation even. So looking at the tokenomics, ETH is way better than before. And then it's all about, kind of like we discussed with the ETF and the halving. People are excited before, like Sitio Larson said, people are positioning themselves, people want to be part of the market before the big news, and then the big news happens, and what's next? For ETH, it's all of these layer 2s and how we can share the apps and liquidity and everything across different L2s, where ETH is the native asset. Where when you look, for example, on Optimism, ETH is the asset of Optimism. You need to bridge ETH to Optimism to use it. And the same thing with Base. So ETH is establishing itself as this money of the internet across all the L2s and L1. But it's still a bit clunky. It still needs bridging. We need this cross-chain infrastructure in place, which Chainlink is doing, for example, with CCIP. That's, by the way, why Chainlink also has been doing very, very well, because it has a whole new narrative that is building up with not only being an oracle, but also cross-chain liquidity, cross-chain DApp infra. So all of that is still something that has to come together, and that's where bullishness comes from for ETH, where we have unexplored potential, which you always need. You need something to look forward to. So that's how I see the future of the ETH fundamentals, that we look forward to this cross-chain, basically intranet of money, where you scale by adding rollups, layer 2s, and where Chainlink potentially fills this cross-chain interoperability gap, or Axelar. There are a few other projects as well.
Yeah, excellent. Quick reminder, everybody, don't forget to subscribe to these channels if you haven't already. You learn all about fundamentals on these channels, which is really cool. I love that. We got two very quick final questions. One is from William Enerson. I own only Sol via GDLC. Tokens I own are Bitcoin, Cardano, Quant only. Well, first of all, GDLC does have a discount, like many of the Grayscale products. I think it's 33% last time I checked. But GDLC is 73%, I think, Bitcoin, and about 24% Solana. It's only 24% Ethereum. It's only 1.4% Solana. So don't, if you think you're stacking Solana by buying GDLC, you're sadly mistaken. It's nothing in that portfolio. It's basically a majority Bitcoin with a bit of ETH in it. So be careful there. But the question from William to you guys is, basically I own Bitcoin, Cardano, and Quant. What should be my fourth token? Because he obviously doesn't have any Solana if he's buying it through GDLC. And a critique on his bags too. Do you believe in those? Would you hold?
I think sorry, what was the name of the person asking? William, I think you should force yourself to go research new projects, because if history is any clue to what will happen in this coming cycle, it won't be the old winners from last cycle that make the biggest gains. It will be some new projects. So I think, and that takes a lot more resistance. It's much easier to just stick with what you already know. I think you should go out, research, try to find 10 new interesting projects, write them somewhere on a piece of paper, keep tracking them, try to learn, see if price, starts going somewhere. Don't hold them on the way down, try to see if one of them starts picking up and try to go with that one as your fourth project.
Yeah. And also there's a thing we're working on. It was designed to identify zombies, and it's working really well. And I won't say which one, but you actually own a zombie, so be very careful. Like everything we spoke about today, disruption, pace of change, etc. If you are not evolving very quickly, you're going to go by the wayside and die. So exactly what CTO says. Ivan, any thoughts on that? Cardano, Quant, are they in your bags?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Most gains are going to come from new coins, and most coins from the last cycle, they don't come back. There are a few examples. ADA, by the way, is one of the coins that actually did come back and created a new all-time high in the last cycle. Whether they're going to do it this cycle, who the hell knows. Then XRP is another example where it had a few cycles where it actually did a new all-time high, and that was quite significant. But other than that, there are no coins that come back, except for Bitcoin, of course. So all in all, the chances are that it's all about new coins. Some coins, a few percent, are going to do another cycle top. Maybe Solana is going to do it this time, maybe something else. But the odds are not in your favor if you have old coins. Too many bag holders, too many resistance levels, and the foundation has too much unlocks and dumping it on you if you hold and you hope.
And we're not even talking about technology and what's it called when your technology gets heavy and it's hard to evolve and change and tweak it. I can't remember the term.
Tech debt.
Tech debt, yes. Tons and tons of tech debt, just like US government debt. You don't want tech debt. You got to keep on evolving. Final point from Anderson W. Love your pet. They will not be around forever. Anderson, hope all is well, buddy. And sorry if you lost a pet. And a big thanks to The Great Escape, CERN, Saturn, Zeno V. And that's it, everybody. That's the show. We went 66 minutes. I want to thank 2,500 people for being here. I want to thank Ivan and CTO for joining me. Next week, we are on CTO's channel. And the week after, Ivan's channel. Barring any unforeseen travel from these gentlemen. Are you any travel plans up between now and Christmas?
I will be here on Monday. I plan my travels at the end of the week so that we don't disrupt the DCA schedule, because I love it. I always learn something new, always have fun, great questions, great comments. Love it. I think this is super fun.
That was great. And Ivan?
Awesome, guys.
Hope you're
always fun. I may miss one or two, but the coming weeks, no plans yet. So next week on CTO, be there or be square, guys. Smash up the like.
Awesome. Thank you all. Thank you everybody in the audience. Thank you to the moderators in chat, and we'll see you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.